What if you could swap a textbook for learning out in the world? Today, I'm joined by Natalie and David, two former international school teachers who launched Harmony Alternative, a groundbreaking way to redefine education for traveling families. We discuss why they opted for homeschooling for their three children, the power of community-led learning in Southeast Asia and soon South America, and how to let your kids' passions take the lead. Packed with heart and logistics for any family dreaming of both community and travel. Stick around to the end to see David's favorite airplane hack for getting the best seats for no extra cost.
Welcome to the Wander World School podcast. I'm Susie, a travel-loving money nerd, mom of two, and our family lives between Spain and Colorado. On this show, we discuss the stories, logistics, and finances of traveling families and the many ways to learn along the way. Today, we get to know Natalie and David.
Hi, Susie. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Tell me more about you and your family and where you're joining this call from today.
Well, right now we are on the call from Bali because we are in between our terms. So we were hosting in Lombok and then we will be hosting in Vietnam in about a month.
And I can't wait to hear more about Harmony Alternative and the different opportunities. Tell me a little more about the ages of your kids.
Yeah, we have three children of our own. They're 10, 7, and 4. And ironically, only one of them is in the project currently because she's 10 and our project to date has only been to 10 to 15 no. But in Vietnam, we're introducing a roots cohort, which is for ages 4 to 9. So it'll be really exciting for our two younger ones to have some opportunities to join in on everything Harmony Alternative is doing right now. But at the same time, they've been loving also getting to know some of the older learners. And it's really cool to see how older learners can totally take on a different kind of personality when they're supporting little ones. So my youngest son, who's 4, has absolutely loved some of the 14-year-olds. It's been really sweet to see those connections blossom.
I do like when different age kids can be together. They really get to learn to take care and be taken care of in a different way than just within a family. I'd love to understand a little more about what travel was like for you each. That helps give us an understanding of where this love for travel started.
We met in Thailand 15 years ago. We were both working at international schools there in Koh Samui. And then basically since then, we have traveled our whole time. We were both international teachers, which makes it very easy to move. There's always jobs. And so you get 2-year contracts. We've lived met in Thailand, then we moved to Spain, then we moved to the UK for a bit, and then Cyprus. And then we moved to the Seychelles. And then we moved to Canada, and then to Italy, and then back to the Seychelles, and then to Portugal. And then now we are on this trip. So we have moved a lot, but we also love traveling. So everywhere we've lived, we've always done a lot of traveling as well. And the kids really enjoy traveling. They're very flexible and seem to enjoy the sun. As younger people as well, when I was a child, we did a lot of traveling with my family. I'm from the UK, so we headed off quite a lot. And you guys traveled a lot too?
Yes, we did. Yeah, being Canadian, we've headed down to Mexico a lot. So, we've been to Mexico very many times. And then when both David and I in our 20s left home early to go and work and live abroad. David was in Australia and Canada, and I had gone to Switzerland and to Qatar and then to Thailand. So, for work. So as soon as we could, just out in the world. So it hasn't really stopped, to be honest.
International teaching is absolutely a way to get to see the world. I think that's a really great launching point for people that like to travel and want to find a way to work around the world. When did that venture away from that take place?
Well, Nat stopped when she was first pregnant, so 10 years ago. And then it's basically been teaching, but at home. Obviously, we've always home educated our children. They've never been to school. And then my previous role a year ago, I was the director of an international school in Portugal. And that was our last educational role, I guess, in an international school. And then I quit in the summer and we started this project in September 2025. Started to begin whilst we were in Portugal and I was in my position. But we already started to have conversations with people and started to think about what this might look like. And by, I guess, a year ago, by March last year, we kind of knew that this was what what we would be doing. So started to transition out of my job and into this.
You both have the teaching background, but since you've had the children, you mentioned that they've been home educated. I'm curious what your approach to education has been, especially while traveling.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think I started off kind of in more of the traditional sense of like trying to bring school at home, just with my teaching background. And I really felt a lot of resistance from my daughter. Like it didn't feel easy, and I would be frustrated. And I started to look into all different pedagogies and started to, bring in Montessori and Waldorf and so many things. And they were all added something to our day that was really special. And I still loved some of those aspects. But what I ended up feeling worked the best for our family was definitely like following her interest and like self-directed learning and inquiry-based learning, because when she was leading and it was everything that she loved, then obviously it just flowed so much more smoothly and I didn't feel that same frustration or resistance. And I started to see, over those 10 years, because now she's 10, is how she will learn everything in her own time. I used to worry about her reading. That's always like, I think, one that families struggle with the most because she wasn't like reading at a certain age. But I love books so much and we really treasure books. It's something that I have shipped all around the world. I think that that's one of the biggest things is when you role model different passions or love, their interests, and then children are exposed to them, then there's such big opportunities there for having a chance to engage with those things, whatever it is. So reading, I think, did just come naturally because we all kind of, in the evening, we all kind of get into bed and read our books. And she started to do the same and it just was natural. The more and more, basically, we both have read and researched and looked into and observed and priority-based learning and interest-based learning and place-based learning. And David, even working within school than us at home, for us, it feels really right. And we're really big believers in that.
Yeah, it's always clashed with our jobs because people will always be, you're not going to send your child to the school because in a lot of international schools, you get to send your children for free. I worked in Florence where tuition there was 100,000 euros a year and you could send your child for free. We continued to homeschool there. But I just can never imagine my children sat at a desk all day, in like a traditional sense. So it's always been a bit of a clash, hasn't it, for us? So this is what we do as a job, but we don't truly believe in it. So the project obviously was that natural progression for us into something that we really believe in as an educational style.
Because we do believe in learning and we love learning. I mean, I still love learning. It's so much to learn and we don't stop as individuals. And we just don't think that you need to be in a school with brick and mortar and, regiments and, schedules and someone coming from the top down with the information. We think that it doesn't need to look like that. And that's kind of where our passion with Calm the Alternative really grew, is like, what do we want to see? And then just making up a dream list of everything we can imagine.
I think teachers, when you have that background, you know how amazing it can be when it connects with children and they light up at the things they get to learn. But you also see that there's this structure that doesn't work for every kid at every stage. And it's really hard. You have such a passion for learning and teaching. And so share with me a little more about what Harmony Alternative is.
We knew that we wanted to kind of spread this different idea of education. So I agree with what you said. I think some kids love school and it works really well for them and they can sit at a desk and learn and eat it, but a lot of children can't. And we pigeonhole everyone into this school box and it doesn't fit everyone. Alternative schools around the world who are saying to us that, they're generally for younger children. And by the time that children get to 10 or 11, there's nowhere for them to go. They either go to maybe world school hubs, which seem to be catered more for younger children, or they go into the school system. And there's very limited alternative education for older kids. So that's where a lot of our discussions kind of revolved around at the beginning. What is there out there for children once they leave the primary school, once they leave elementary school? That's kind of where the global classroom idea came from, because the initial idea was, let's put together a curriculum that we can share with schools. And actually the original idea came from a discussion with a lady called Dora, who actually is in Lombok. And she owns a school called Wonder Intercultural School. And she was basically saying, oh, we've got some children that are getting to this age, I can't have them anymore, but they want to stay in sort of alternative education. So I'd reached out to a few other schools and pitched this idea that what we could do is I would help develop a curriculum and the kids would do one term with one school, one term with another school, one term with another school. But then that just kind of snowballed into people getting in touch with us and hearing about this idea, saying, actually, this is something we're interested in. Because initially, Harmony Alternative was established as we will do this in the kind of background while I work my job, and we'll just have this kind of thing running in the background. But it really quickly turned into something massive. So many people had heard about this and were super interested until it got to the stage where we had to say, I can't do both things. It was an easy decision to go for it because it's something that we really felt passionate about. And so right now, because the Global Classroom Project takes up 100% of our time, and so we've really focused on this now. I think the idea is that we could make this into a blueprint and a model of this is what learning can look like. And then we can maybe start sharing that a bit more with other schools, because there's only two of us. And, right now we just want to make it work really well, and then start sharing those ideas and putting it out there for other people to explore as well. For our daughter, she's 10, she's never been to school, and she loves being part of this project. She's up every day, packing her bag. On a Saturday, she's asking when it's Monday. She really can't wait to get there. And when she's there, she's the ideal student. She's super engaged. She just loves everything about the project. So it's really great for her. And, a lot of the other kids that are there as well, they really embrace this style of learning because they've tried school and it's not worked for them.
Let's get into a little more about what the Global Classroom Project looks like, what has already taken place. And then also, I know there's some big launching in the fall with different programs through Argentina and Chile. Give your family the ultimate travel tool, the gift of language. Preply's one-on-one native speaking tutors make world schooling more immersive and fun, fitting perfectly into your busy travel schedule. Whether you're preparing for Spain or Japan, start talking today. I've been using Preply for years with great success. Use the link in the show notes to get 70% off your first lesson.
The main project obviously was focused on preteens and teens, so from 10 to 15. This year we were in Koh Lanta, Lombok, and then we're heading to Vietnam next. The structure is that it's a 10-week program, and it is a program that supports homeschooling families or world schooling families, because we're not a school, we're not educating the kids per se, we're just giving them the opportunity to do two things. One, to be a community, because the feedback we got from a lot of teenagers and preteens was they love world schooling and they love travel, but they really want to make friends. And they go to a world school hub for 2 weeks, then go to another, and then go to another, and they really want that consistency. So when we started to develop this idea, it was with that in mind that we would produce something that is for a year and that the children that are joining us could really make strong friendships. And that has been the case so far for the 2 terms. And then the second piece was to try to make something a bit more structured, because again, the hubs and traveling, there's no consistency. They learn something, they forget about it. So what we've tried to do is we've built a curriculum around what we're doing, so that every activity that we do, every place we go to, every person we speak to has been really well thought out about, well, how does this connect to a kind of theme of the week? So for example, in week 1, we might have a theme of geometry, and in English, poetry, and in science, ecology. And so we try to pick activities where the children will be able to be exposed to something really cool, but then look through those lenses at, well, how can I see geometry here? So when we're there, we're just trying to show them examples of, oh, look, you could look at this, look at these shapes. Maybe you could go and count the shapes. Maybe you could draw some shapes. We're trying to model how to use the world as a textbook, because you don't need to be sat at school looking at a textbook. And I've shown them textbooks and said, look at the activities in here. Now think about when we went here, you were doing this. This is written in a textbook, but you were actually at that place, getting the information yourself, taking the actual measurements yourself, and then applying it. You can use everything around you to learn. You have all the tools, and it's just about, learning how to use them. And then the second piece of it all is that we encourage them to work on projects, because a lot of these children maybe won't be going into schools and they won't be doing exams. And there's a lot of fear around, well, what happens when I'm 18 and I want to go to college? And I've done lots of research on this previously. And I'm aware that a lot of schools now and colleges and universities accept portfolios. So part of the projects that we are working on is having the children work on their own portfolios. And that is kind of the passion piece of their project. So when you're in Lombok, what are you going to produce that you couldn't have produced if you weren't in Lombok, if you hadn't met this person, if you hadn't been to this place? And what is it that you love? Do you love designing games? Do you love drawing? Do you love writing stories? So you can take that passion and apply it based on all the experiences that we've had in this place. So at the end, you come out with your own project piece, and then you come out with having, thought a little bit about some of these skills in these core subjects whilst we're out and about. We do have a mathematician attached to us that joins us online every week, just to give the kids a bit more depth in some of those skills, because we want them to really sort of be able to push themselves. So he will talk to them about trigonometry this week. How do you do it? What should you be looking for? So when they're going out, they can try to use that trigonometry. My background is in humanities and languages, so I can help with that. And Ava's our other facilitator, and her background is in science, so she helps them think about science. So it's, we're really just trying to guide them and give them that structure and those friendships to learn together. But it is very much a homeschooling support. We do push it back to the parents and say, you are also part of this. We are not a school. We're not an education piece. We're just there to really help guide you and your children to learn better and learn through place rather than having to sit at home at a desk. And I guess that then moves us into next year. Maybe I'll let you talk about that. But we're going to do Southeast Asia, but we've had so much interest from people who want to go to South America, but we love Southeast Asia. We want to stay with this route, so we want to keep two. And then the second thing is that we had so many parents get in touch with us and say, I have an 8-year-old and this is exactly what I'm looking for. Will you take them? Next year, we will have 2 cohorts running through each project. So for Southeast Asia, we'll have the younger group, which we call Roots, and there'll be maybe 10 of those children. And then the older group will be 15 in the main project.
David is the lead facilitator this year and brings all of his experience. And I see myself as a background and future thinker. So I do a lot of the linking of local experts and bringing in the planning for the future, whereas he's working in the now, the day-to-day. So we all have our pieces, if you wish, the puzzle. What I bring, I suppose, is that my biggest passion is mindfulness and meditation and yoga. And we feel really strongly about that being an important part of the learning autonomy alternative because, I trained in yoga over 15 years ago and I use it every day with my own children. So my own practice, never had the luxury of being separate from my children. When I woke up in the morning and did my own thing, they were part of it and really loved it actually. And I wish I would have learned when I was so young how to regulate my emotions, how to just deal with feelings and how to gain focus. I think it's really important for children to get exposed and to have the opportunity to even learn, yoga is one aspect in terms of how to move with grace, move your body, strengthen the body. And I love all of that. But I think the deepest part is definitely the meditation and the focus and the mindfulness. So every day starts with yoga, meditation, and mindfulness. And I can see how it makes a big impact for our learners because, some of them have never been exposed to this and they actually seem to really love that stillness or that shavasana, we call it, at the end where you're lying down. It's just so amazing to see how much it benefits them and helps them to carry themselves in a different way throughout the day. So, and then in terms of the locations, I selected 3 locations for South America, which is Pisac, Peru, and then San Martin de los Andes in Argentina, and then Pucón, Chile. And I'm really excited about those locations for the families that go. It looks absolutely amazing. And it's going to be a Spanish immersion, 3 terms, so that people will have the opportunity to continue the Spanish throughout each term. So we will have a bilingual facilitator, and the idea is that from the beginning, maybe more of the learning will be supported in English, slowly going to be fully in Spanish by the end. That seemed to be something families were super interested in. In fact, I see a lot of interest in Spanish acquisition. So that's really cool. And Southeast Asia will be also running and simultaneously. In the first term, where we went to a northern part of Thailand that we absolutely fell in love with because it was very relaxed. So we're going to host there and kind of split our time there because it is a bit slow paced. So we're looking at doing it's called Chinigao, and then we'll do the last 3 weeks either on a Andaman coast or with a farm that I'm very keen to partner with in Chiang Mai area. And then, Hoi An, and then Sri Lanka for the third. Because for me, when I am organizing it, it really depends on the partnerships. We're very big believers in organic farming and permaculture and just learning from people who are doing skills and bringing them in, because certainly we don't have all the skills. And that's something as a homeschooling mom, I struggled with. I don't have all the answers. And I was always trying to find who out there can teach us this. And I love seeing people just do what they love doing and bringing them in. And that's a big part of Harmony is those partnerships. For example, in Koh Lanta, I'm very interested, and I think a lot of learners were interested in sustainable architecture. And so we flew in a bamboo architect who had helped design Panyadan School in Chiang Mai to come down to Koh Lanta for a 3-day workshop with his team, with all the bamboo, and they built an entire structure for an upcycling center, which will have a permanent positive impact for that community. It is really important to look at what are we doing, why are we doing it, and is it going to benefit the community or is it just benefiting us? And to try to show that what we do can be done with a purpose and a meaning for also the place we are.
I think that goes back to what our days look like as well, because we start every day with yoga and meditation, and then mostly we then head off, and we try to use a lot of the money that we spend goes towards facilitators and goes towards different activities that we're doing. But Natalie works really hard on trying to find things that you couldn't just do as a tourist. And a lot of the things that we ended up doing are because we had made connections. So we really try to make sure that they're experiencing things that they couldn't normally do. And then these people are experts in their field. That's how we try to show them learning. And with the languages in Southeast Asia, for us, it's super important that the kids try to learn some language, because we think it's a really important part of immersing into the culture, showing respect. So we have with us every term a language teacher that joins us for sort of 5 hours a week and helps the learners to get some of the language. And the next day they will go take them somewhere to use that language and be there to kind of prompt them. Children really embrace that, I think, and really love learning the language and then being able to try to use it.
I love everything about it. The project-based learning, the community integration, the language integration. And like you said, if you're learning the language and then you're going out there and practicing it in a guided environment, it helps kids with that confidence piece. Sounds like families will arrange their own accommodation.
We spoke to a lot of hubs before we started this project, and everyone said, don't touch accommodation. The families that were joining us, and some of them have been on these kind of projects, all said, we love the community, but we also love our independence, and we want to be able to be with our children as well. But what's happened, I think, with our group is that the community have really come together. Once the day ends at 2:30, all the children go and meet at the beach, and all the parents meet during the day for coffee or go and do yoga. So it actually has become a really nice community as well.
And a nice thing that we kind of tried in Lombok was the last week we did 5 days on an organic farm that was in a very off-the-grid remote area. And everybody had their own guest house or accommodation, but very close. And the kids actually got to camp on site. It felt like a bonding final week to have that close proximity at the end. So I'm liking that and thinking of carrying that through now as a theme.
I think to answer your question, we push everything back to parents, visas, accommodation, flights.
Yeah.
Because again, we are just here to kind of organize activities and for the children to come and for us just kind of help guide them and structure it that way. So really these families, they're all world schooling and they're all homeschooling. And I think for them, it's important they have that responsibility.
Sometimes people that have been traveling for a while, they know what they like in terms of accommodations and the price points that work for them. And it is nice to leave some of that onto the family so that they can be happy with their choices and really focus on what you guys do best. What will the program look like for the Roots, which is those 4 to 9-year-olds?
So in Hoi An, it's going to be led by a friend, a Montessori teacher. So it is quite Montessori based because that's her passion and her background. But after this, Kate will probably be looking at moving abroad and getting a job in an international school as a Montessori teacher. So from that point, we are still looking at hiring. So hello, if anybody's listening. But definitely we are open to different pedagogies, but at the end of it all, what's really important is, again, like the place-based. And I think Montessori does value place-based and inquiry-based. So that still feels aligned when I speak to Kate.
Yeah, it's just a mini version of the main project, really. I mean, the idea is still the same, that these families are homeschooling and world schooling, and we're just bringing people together and helping organize the activities for them to learn and be a community. But they probably will, do shorter hikes, or they won't do. Like in Lombok, we took the children to a shark fishing market, and it was pretty intense. There was like 40 dead sharks there, and the kids were just walking around and just observing it. Some of the kids were crying. It was quite emotional. So those things for the older kids I think they're a really cool part of the project and really made them reflect on where we were. And we talked about, well, is it a bad thing? These people, this is their livelihood. It's really important discussions. For the younger children, obviously, we wouldn't take them to a place like that. But the idea is the same, that they will be doing place-based, that we'll really think hard about what activities are really going to benefit them. Because each week has a theme, each term has a theme, and we really think hard about trying to make connections for the week so the kids can make those connections as well.
Makes sense. And I do like project-based learning because it really does connect things from so many different subjects, which is, I think, where sometimes school silos that. Whereas when you bring it all together in a project, you see how the math interplays with the culture and the language, and it just makes it more real. And I think it's easier for the kids to synthesize all that together. So I love that that's a big core tenet of it. But I also think it's important to talk about the ups and the downs of choosing a travel lifestyle, putting on a program like this. What are some of the challenges? And then we'll also talk about the wins, of course.
Well, there's many. I mean, we've lived abroad for a long time, so we're very fortunate that we have very supportive families. My parents live in the UK, and Natalie's parents live in Canada. Actually, they're here now in Bali with us, just visiting. So we're very lucky that we have that. But obviously, it's hard not being near your family, especially with children, and especially for our parents who are the grandparents. They miss the kids a lot. So that aspect is difficult, and we're a long way from home, and it's very expensive to fly 5 of us back. This year, we've been very good at getting rid of stuff, because when we've moved internationally, we've always kind of taken a lot of things with us. And so this year, we had 5 suitcases. We talked to the kids a lot about packing very carefully. I mean, our kids are super flexible. They can play with sticks outside and be happy all day. They don't need like toys per se. But I think it's harder, isn't it? Moving from house to house and living in other people's houses is a challenge, I think, sometimes. And, sometimes we say, oh, it'd be nice just to be in our own house with a fire and just have no concerns about having to clean it after we leave or whatever. So
but then you end up cleaning all the time when it's your own house.
And then soon you get itchy feet and you want to go travel anyhow. So
inevitably, I mean, David and I have both been traveling separately together now for way too long that I don't know how to settle. But there's that longing sometimes. And I think that's why it's great that we do this, at least what we think is a bit slower in terms of it's basically 2 months we're in a location with those families. You do get to the point by those 8 weeks that you think, okay, like I'm ready for a change. So we find that that's really nice. And then we have a long break between when we finish in Vietnam to when the program starts again, which I think is essential actually, because we don't want to burn out. And even though we're on a break right now, there's a lot to still be done in the background. It's important to balance all the energy we put out there with nurturing ourselves, because obviously we want to be in top form.
I think one of the big issues with us being running this project is that we are available all the time. So it's actually really full on for those 7 weeks. So I think that take care of your own mental health and your own exhaustion has been quite a challenge that maybe we weren't expecting it.
Very true.
Yeah, and
Well,
that's why we are moving into hiring facilitators,
Yeah.
because it's like, what pieces can we
Mhm.
give? And that's to be the piece. And we've had some great conversations with fantastic people that I think
Yeah.
could really carry our vision forward.
We've also got some really supportive parents, and they have amazing background. And that actually came from the parents saying, we want to be used for things. So we've actually established a kind of like PTSO, like a parent teacher association thing, where we have Natalie and I and then 3 parents, and we will meet once a week for an hour. And it's just the idea of they can kind of bring things to us, and they can be the touch point for the community. They can arrange the coffee meetings, and they can be the first point of call when people are having issues. So it's not coming straight back to us, but then every week we can touch base and we can talk about it. I've used PTSOs before in school settings, and so it did seem like a really cool idea and to draw on people's strengths.
That also sounds like a win, which I'm happy to
Yeah.
hear. Like bringing in more of the parents, and it just makes it even a stronger community in that aspect.
Totally.
What are some other wins?
Man, like so many. I feel like when I'm not there during the day facilitating, aside from the morning part, but when I see the pictures and the videos of their day, I just like jaw dropping. Sometimes I cry. I just think to myself, like, wow, what an opportunity. And
Yeah, I always say to the children, if 14-year-old me saw these videos while I sat in my geography lesson in school, I would be like, "What? Take me to this place where I can."
Yeah.
I'd say a big win. A big win that I see is my 10-year-old daughter, and just watching her during the day, and I just see how she just loves every second of every day and just integrates and just gets involved and makes friends. And we're a vertical learning group, but she's happy to chat to the older kids and they're happy to chat with the younger kids. And I just, seeing it as a parent is a huge win, because this is really what this is all about, is wanting to produce something that we think is what education should look like for our children, and then seeing our daughter just absolutely thrive. And it's so nice to see as a parent, but also as the facilitator, to see that enjoyment that the children have.
Yeah, that's so great. I know that these locations, especially Southeast Asia and Bali area, can be, they're known to be a little more affordable, which I think helps when families are slow and long-term traveling, that they can stretch the dollar or their pound or their Canadian dollar or wherever they're coming from. What has been the maybe financial picture of some of the
I think
families?
we have a big mix of families. So we have families that have built businesses and sold them, and are able to stay in very nice places and don't need to worry too much. And we've got families that have really gathered every penny they can get to come and do this activity and do this trip. So there's a huge mixture, I think, of people that we have brought in. Most people work remotely, I think, now. So they all have jobs and they work during the day. It's one of the reasons they're with us, because they know that we will have the children for that period of time, so they can have meetings and etc.
I think, like, at the same time, what David and I do when it comes to organizing in terms of the activities and facilitators, I always ask, what do people want as a price, and we pay it. Like, we don't try to scrimp and negotiate with local facilitators, and we pay them what the prices they're asking, and it's fair, because we want to be positive on the community. We want to have a positive impact, and we don't want to undercut people. And that is important to us when we are bringing in terms of like financial contribution to the area.
We tried to pick places that were slightly off season going into it, so we knew that the prices would be a little bit lower. We didn't have the challenges of the weather.
Yeah.
But as we always say to the families, we're not on holiday. If it rains, we're still going out. We're not here just to sunbathe. But it does mean that the prices are, especially for Koh Lanta and Lombok, were a bit lower and you could negotiate a bit more and there's a bit more availability.
A lot of these communities do rely on tourism, but that is seasonal. So if we can spread that out a little bit, I think that also helps. I'd like to always wrapping up with a couple lightning round questions. And then at the very end, I'll make sure you can link all the resources so people can find out more about Harmony Alternative and the opportunities that are coming up. Let's start with best travel advice that you've ever received.
It's a really good question.
I guess like going at a slower pace is a good, like we did that faster travel recently in between terms and we found it quite tiring. This time we're just staying in one place for a month in between terms. And I think that, slower is better. That's some travel advice.
One of my old employees told me about how to get a good seat on an aeroplane, which I tried last year.
And did it work?
It works, yeah. You book your seat and then he said an hour before you board, you go back in, cancel your seat, and then it opens up all the seats that normally you have to pay for free. And I did it and then I was able to put myself a seat on an empty row. So that was a really good piece of travel advice.
Genius. So 1 hour before takeoff.
So it's don't cancel your seat and then it opened up all the other seats available and then you could choose your row and know that no one else is going to check in. And then I had a whole row to myself. It was awesome.
Good tip there. I like it. Where have you had the best or the worst food?
Philippines, I think was the worst food.
It's not like a foodie's paradise.
No.
For us, anyway. I don't usually tend to eat meat, so I found it quite meat heavy there, I guess.
I love Thai food, and we lived in Thailand and met in Thailand, and our kids love Thai food. I think actually we were so excited to take our children to Thailand after having talked about it so much.
Yeah. What about some advice for families starting out?
I think it's so overwhelming when you're starting out. Just the stuff. I think that really bogs people down. What do we do with all this stuff? And I would just say to them that once you've sold it or given it away or donated it, that you don't remember it all and it fades in the background and that, you can overcome the stuff.
Yeah. We were very reluctant to bring Kindles because we love books and we shipped books all over the place. And this time we were very light and we bought 2 Kindles and we were like, I'm not going to read this. But actually, I've adjusted and I'm okay with my Kindle now.
But I continue to scoop up books wherever
I
see them.
you do. But at least we're not
Squish them in my suitcase just because they're books.
Yes, it's good to have the balance. I just told my son last night because Kindle told me, and I was like, you've read 35 books this year because he is like obsessed now that he has this Kindle. I didn't realize it would go that much because he really did like books too. So there's this little part of me that's sad that he's not like touching as many books, but also I love that it's opened up a new world. Well, this is great. Where can people learn more about Harmony Alternative and the opportunities coming up? Let's see, this upcoming school year in South America and Southeast Asia.
You can see the website. So it's harmonyalternative.com. And we have an Instagram page, a Facebook page, and a very mediocre YouTube channel.
I think it's really great to be able to go on our Instagram and click on some of the videos because that really shows what we're doing, what we're all about. And Dave does all of our videos and I think they're really great.
And on our website you can make an appointment to meet with us, which I think actually is the best thing to do in the end because then we get to chat a bit more about how it might work for people, and we're very open and very honest, and we really want people to ask lots of questions to us and make sure that this is the right project. And we have so much knowledge on international schools and world school hubs that we're quite happy to share our knowledge and say, actually, I think maybe you'd like this thing that we've heard about as well. So, I think it's really important to have those discussions and make the right choice and make sure that you go with your heart to what is the right thing. I mean,
and the right thing for your learner, for your child. It's really important for us that this is not just the parents who want it, that the kids are really excited and that it speaks to their heart.
Awesome. I'll make sure to link all that so people can get a hold of you. And I can't wait to share this.
Thanks, Susie.
That's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please do me a huge favor and tell a friend or traveling family about the show. And hey, don't miss out on bonus content, behind the scenes, and more on Instagram, Facebook, or Substack. Thanks for tuning in. Go send this episode to a friend. See you next time.